Hi.
Hi, Alina.
Hi, Ilona. So nice to see you. So nice to have this opportunity to be together.
Oh well, it's really great. Let's have a chat and let's share what's going on with us and how we see this self-inquiry. Because there are so many people searching, and so we can give our little perspective of what's going on and what's helpful. Really, what's helpful. Okay, so just for somebody that doesn't know me, my name is Ilona Ciunaite. I'm an author of the book called Liberation Unleashed and co-founder of this movement called Liberation Unleashed. And this is a community of guides and helping free of charge seekers to find, well, to find what is.
Yeah, to just recognize the non-dual nature of reality, basically. And it was so helpful for me. So in my kind of last stage, like of the shift. So thank you for having that.
And I'm talking today with Alina. Alina,
yes.
Introduce yourself, please.
Yes, so my name is Alina Panteleev, and so I work closely with Scott Kiloby, and is a non-dual teacher, has been there around for many years already in the public. So I'm kind of new and emerging, and I have a few platforms. So I am working closely with Scott, so you can find me on kiloby.com, and as well as I have my own platform that I formed. It's called Presence Alchemy. And it's a platform that really helps people to recognize freedom within themselves that is already there through self-inquiry, through Kiloby inquiries. It's a self-inquiry or inquiry method, and non-dual pointers and meditation. So
I remember it's all started for you with like meditation groups at home. That was so nice.
yeah. It was quite something. But again, it just to be able to do that, coming back to what's helpful, I had to really clear stuff that was preventing me for so many years, because the non-dual shift had happened years and years back in 2000, whatever, 10, 11, back in Mexico, actually. All
really?
paths to Mexico, yeah. But I was not able to share it because there were all these filters and traumas that were in the way of me able to actually bring it to people and to be able to even guide meditation. Meditation was a big part of my journey, but I couldn't. Like, it was so much fear, it was so much overwhelm that finally, eventually, life kind of lead me to the way of finding these wonderful tools within myself organically. But then Scott just had this beautiful, skillful way of putting language to it. So here I am, like, cleared up and able to, to actually speak with you and be able to bring it to people and just empower them how transformative their own presence is and how to use it.
That's great. What would you say was the most impactful tool for you? Like in all this clearing, let's say clearing after the shift, what was the most impactful?
Yeah, most impactful tool. Wow. I think it's the recognition of being able to give voice to the energies inside. That was really, really a big eye opener, because it's one thing to notice things from awareness, but not necessarily things like just right away move and liberate and kind of just dissolve. So I found it, and especially after awakening journey and prior, of course, it's like a huge shift. But after, we can even fool ourselves just hanging out in awareness and not really dealing with all this stuff. But when I just kind of said yes to life through a birth of my second son, and I just started to relate right away, and all this stuff started to flood. So I had to give voice to all these energies because they were absolutely silent. So I'm like, wow, not unconscious, right? And not really seen. And then you get triggered. You have no idea what's the trigger until you start really inquiring and giving voice. So a specific tool in particularly I think we call it in Kiloby inquiries. If I would translate it to KI, short for Kiloby inquiries, it would be mining questions.
Mining
So
questions. How interesting. Can you share some questions?
Yeah, for sure. So this most simple one, it's not even there, but I adopted it. It's just, what is this? Just asking the energy, what is this? That's the most simple. And then there's, of course, the others. If the energy had language, what would it say or show? And the whole experience, inner experience, translates in words, pictures, and sensations. That's what we work with in Kiloby inquiries. And so when the sensation is here, yeah, we can mine out the story out of it, so it can become emptier, therefore empty of that Velcro, and therefore go back home. Yeah, another one would be, what was the first time you felt it? What it was the first time I felt it? What was the first time it was experienced this way? And usually like, boom, an image of childhood, mommy screaming, daddy screaming, something like that. How about you, Ilona? I wanted to hear a little bit more about your arrival at Deep Looking, and how did you? Yeah, that's very.
I had an opportunity to go and see Pamela Wilson in London at satsangs. I went to a couple, and I saw how she works with people, how she works with these energies. And it was so fascinating for me, because I never met anyone so kind. Firstly, she's just shining kindness. And I never knew how to work like with the fear. And of course, I studied psychology, but that doesn't teach the practical stuff. So watching Pamela Wilson work, I thought to try it for myself and just experiment, have fun with it. So firstly, I tried it on myself and just asking these very simple, very deep questions like, mind, are you at peace? Well, and you can notice that if you ask this question, immediately the answer comes and it says yes or no. It's so obvious. And then if it says yes, okay, yeah, that's great. And then I would ask the heart, are you at peace? And the answer would come up. And if it's not at peace, I would ask, do you want to go to peace? Do you want to be at peace? And again, you get the answer yes or no. And if it's no, then I ask, what's in the way? Or what do you want? What do you want the most? So that way, kind of, there's a dialogue between me and the structure. So I'm not the structure, I'm not the mind, I'm not the feelings, I'm talking to it. It sounds a bit weird. But once you try it, you see it's so simple and it's very effective. Because when we think that I am the mind, I'm kind of stuck there. I cannot see the way out of like overthinking or of too much feeling. And if I see that as a structure, as an energy that is just here to talk, here to be felt, here to be noticed, then it's easier to meet it, right? And I learned from Pamela how to meet the energy. That is the biggest gift that I received from her. It's like, okay, we are used to going like this. No, not this, not that. I don't like this. Shut up. Like, no.
I don't want this anymore. Oh, I thought I looked at it already.
Yes. But instead of all that, we can go like this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing up. I see you. I agree. And like innerly giving full permission for it to be as it is, without trying to fix it or change it. So, so that was many years ago. I think 2011. Yeah. So since then I started to like experiment, and I was doing all these sessions. I was giving these sessions to my friends, and then people I didn't know, just, I'm available, you can have a session. And everything was done on typing, and it worked. And I saw how people's energy changed, when we start talking. And the most amazing thing in these sessions was that I could work with 2 or 3 people at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Like while ironing or cooking, you write a message, you wait, until somebody answers. And the amazing thing was that these people that will come in for that session, for that time, they would have the same problem. They will talk about the same experience, and they would start and finish at the same time. So it was like, wow, how interesting. So yeah, because typing, you don't need to be there sitting and looking at the other person. Everything is happening on my screen, so I don't really see what's happening, but I just respond to the to what's coming up at me. It's like a little, it's like playing chess. Somebody makes a move, and you just like, okay, question.
Which is a similar dynamic in the Liberation Unleashed, right? More where you write and you wait for the answer, and then there's that kind of dynamic.
Except that on Liberation Unleashed, the guide writes a question, and the answer comes maybe a week later. And he's an immediate response.
Immediate, I see immediate response. So so while the energies are alive and present. Wow. And have you ever had experience of actually working with other people, like through even computer, like Skype, Zoom?
Yes. But it took me a while to kind of become confident in this. And to be honest, that was my process. Like some people have a practice to meditate or do something. For me, it was meeting those people that will come to me and working with their broad problems or energies. And I could feel how, when they release something, he releases, something here changes. And I could see, how these people that bring their own question, it's so relevant to me.
Yeah.
In many ways, it was like, wow, how can this be? They don't know what's happening here, but they come. And they bring that question for both of us. So the amazing thing to facilitate is that it works both ways. Do you notice that too?
I could totally agree. Yeah. For me, I think the final chunk of freedom was actually taking the Kiloby inquiry training and being able to start facilitating others. And where all my deficiencies that were still unlocked or still, not whole yet, haven't been seen yet, were all coming up. And it was a perfect opportunity to just sit with that and actually use the same tools on whatever was arising, either the energy that needed to hide, or the energy that felt like unconfident enough, or the energy that all these parts that were arising. It was a perfect opportunity. I could totally agree. And even we're actually doing a training right now with Scott, and there's 16 participants, and all they're seeing, there was half of the part of the training is just for self-facilitation. But when they start working with others, or they start receiving facilitation, that's where, how they say in English, the spiritual rubber hits the road in a way. I love that saying. So that's where everything starts coming up. And so we're now at that part of the training. So like really wonderful to hold space for their inquiries, their real or authentic, honest questions. Okay, how do I sit with resistance? How do I how do I deal with that? Because the intention, the how do I say more the habit is to push it away, right? As you're saying, not this, I don't want this. But it was wonderful, actually. And I think I remember when I started working with Kiloby and Chris, I was reaching out to you. How do you deal with resistance? That was my question. Because for me, they had resistance, and my resistance would arise like, so my resistance was kind of resisting their resistance, because like, oh my gosh, we spent the whole session and nothing moved. And then I learned that kindness, that softness, that sweetness, that, oh my gosh, that's just another guest, let's welcome, let's sit at the table together, with the energy of effort and the energy of, the one still wants to control, and the one still want to be done with this. And it's just, and it's just changed so much everything. But then again, it was so needed for me to be facilitated by others or to facilitate other people. It was just so important, that dynamic of mirroring to each other. Yeah. What is in the way of intimate relationship?
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So tell me just this, I'm really curious how different it is, let's say for a person to learn the tools and just do it on their own as a self-inquiry method, let's say either deep looking or whether it's Kiloby inquiries, or do you find the dynamic of having a facilitator is actually much more beneficial or helpful, at least in the beginning? Let me know what's your experience with that.
When I work with people for over a period of time, then I can see the progress. And it also supports them, like meeting every week at a certain time, or even twice a week in the beginning, gives that support that is needed to establish that new way of meeting the energy. Because, we can learn it once, we can experience it once, all relaxed, but then life comes back again with something else to look at. It's so easy to forget and get into the old patterns. So having somebody supporting you and holding your attention and directing the attention to some particular places really helps for the nervous system to learn what's happening. Not just once, not just twice. So it's a bit of a training. So okay. So when I sit with somebody, they get into kind of my field and everything calms down naturally because we're sharing our energy. But then you can also see how this works and learn this basic meeting, how to meet what arises. And that kind of gets more and more familiar. And when it gets more and more familiar, you can do it on your own. Or you can work with somebody else and show them the same. So it's very beneficial to have a few sessions, regular sessions with somebody. Yeah. So to kind of establish that new way of meeting what arises. And sure thing, things arise. Life will always find something to slap you or bring out of balance. Just something to look at, which is it becomes fun. It becomes fun to look at something because it's no longer desperate seeking, it's exploring or looking at what arises.
What arises with what is. And do you find like, would you give like some sort of a practice for them, or just some cues to what to be aware of when they're between the sessions? Do you give any homework?
Yes, I do give homework after each session, and it all depends on what we are looking at in that session, what becomes transpired, what is seen, and I just give homework where to look, what to do, like during the week. So there is something for the mind to chew on and explore.
And I can totally relate to that because I find I tell people that register with me, take just for one session, I'm really honest with them, like okay, this is really just dipping your toe. You really have to, to really experience what it is and to really almost start embodying some of the tools or the way to be with things. It would be at least, 4 sessions, 10 sessions would be amazing. Like, so the package is better because at first it's more affordable. And then there's this regular getting to know each other. There's this comfort that when a person knows you, there's just like, they just can open up easier. And just the fact that it's more and more building more and more awareness of what is arising and how to meet it in the right way. And I love to send, because what happens, in the session, we would start seeing a certain, how would I say, unconscious drivers, right? And we would name them. And then there is, apart from the deficiency story that we can find, well, let's say I'm not good enough, or let's say I can talk about mine. There was I'm lacking. I need to believe I'm lacking to get love and approval. So there's the utility. So there's different ways of getting the utility behind this energy still operating within our system, because there's something behind it, something that, needs, it looks for love and approval through these, most of the time, very awkward ways. So So when I work with people, and then eventually, you know, when we have a week between sessions, I would just send them, okay, how about, you know, be more aware, like just be vigilant when, and I'm sending, you know, I need to believe I'm lacking for love and approval. I believe I'm invisible to get attention, and so on, so on. So just a few sentences. And so it just builds more awareness. So now it's not unconscious anymore. So now with the same operating system starts to come up, and life starts to kind of push your buttons. And so yeah, I do find it so helpful because I'm working with a girl. She came back to work with me, and we had 10 sessions, and it was so helpful to her. So she came and took more sessions, and it was interesting to see. I'm like, well, what's the changes? What do you observe? What are you noticing? And she's like, well, they're small, but they're big at the same time. She said, you know, and the way I relate to parents is different. Instead of hating, you know, there's more compassion. The way I relate to myself, and it's just the transformation is big, especially that self-hate that we kind of turn on ourselves. That is a big one that starts changing with kind of continuous sessions together. Yeah.
Yes, and I find that, yeah, one session for some is great. Like,
yeah,
they get what they need.
Yeah,
they can come back in 3 months or not come back at all. It's great. And, you know, but if meeting regularly, I notice after about maybe 6, 7, 8 sessions, something changes dramatically. Like there is a bigger change, because then you can look back and start noticing how there is less fear, there's more wonder, there is more kindness towards yourself, and there are these patterns are gone. Yes. And it's really just about becoming conscious of the unconscious patterns, because these patterns, the habits of body, of the mind, of, you know, feeling, they're running unconsciously, and we are hostages to them. Because, you know, they repeat and repeat, and different people, same situation, basically same emotion. So starting noticing these patterns, don't really need to do anything about them. It's just enough of that noticing, acknowledging, just seeing it. And then it's no longer unconscious, it becomes conscious. Next time it shows up, it's so much easier to notice it. And the third time it comes up, like, oh, okay, yeah, I see it. And then it has no more power. So it frees itself. And the amazing thing I noticed that we are not doing anything. Like, we cannot release, we cannot heal, we cannot get rid of it or anything. But that the power of attention itself, holding focus on something, it gives that tightness, like an opportunity to go, okay, I can expand. You know, they're not trying to get rid of me. I can just be more comfortable. So, you know, we can invite all these tightnesses, all these contractions to self-adjust, so they become more comfortable. And that's a kind way to deal with whatever arises. Yeah. Because it's being seen, it's being acknowledged, it's being held. Yeah. And then it self-liberates, self-releases.
Yeah, beautiful, beautifully put. I can actually add an experience that happened to me with these meditations I was offering. And it's interesting enough that I saw the pattern, and I mean it was just so powerful. The trauma that I saw, I haven't seen it for 30 years. It was just shown. It was just completely repressed and completely out of conscious awareness for many years. And all of a sudden there was enough light already. So there's like, okay, readiness is here. Let's show up. And when it showed up, it was so kind of overwhelming, and answering all this kind of like the last piece of the puzzle, why my behavior were in group of people or trying to present something. And I was always like choked with this fear. But it's interesting enough, like as you're saying, like being either really aggressive with these energies or being soft with these energies. So at one point where I really saw it, I said, I can't hide anymore. And I really was aggressive with that energy. I literally kicked myself into taking a class, well, replacing a teacher, meditation teacher, and he had so much experience. And I really dread going to meditation, like going to teach or going to guide meditation. And the energy was like really, really, really severe. And it was just like, oh, I don't want to do this. But anyway, I would arrive and I would balance my nervous system through pranayama. I would breathe a little bit, we'll teach others breathing. And it would subside. And I would, I was, after that, I definitely was in my element because it was just totally blissful. But interesting enough, now every time I host meditation, this registered as like this intensity of like that fear still registered there. So I never met it in that more soft kind way until very recently. And I had, we're exchanging sessions anyway with other facilitators, and one of the facilitators facilitated me going into that energy, that 6-year-old, traumatized. And for the first time, I met it with love and just really held it and just really, really allowed it to cry and say exactly what it needed to say and be held and be, because it was so misunderstood. It was so mistreated. And back then it was like a sleepaway camp, and USSR was just communist time. It was quite intense. So anyway, it was just so different. And now, like later, like 2-3 weeks later, like showing up to host meditations weekly, which I do on Tuesdays online at this time, it's not there. It's just so much softer. And even if it's a little bit there, like I'm just closing my eyes for a moment, giving it like an inner hug, like reassurance that I'm here, I see you, I hear you. And it's just dissipates. It's just like really. So it's such a difference, right? Because when we're really harsh, because there's that coaching path, you can do it, you can overcome your fears and da-da-da. So it was more of that approach, as opposed to let's just really welcome what's here. Let's just see and just really give it like a real hug and real space to breathe and to express. So it's a big game changer. Definitely, I can attest to that. Yeah.
I had a session with somebody yesterday. Yeah. And he was saying, I just wish I had some tools, some kind of method to deal with or to meet these energies. I say, yeah, there is a method. There is a tool. It's like hands off. That's what we kind of need to learn to do to meet those energies, because it's here. I don't need to fix it. I don't need to be aggressive with it. I can just say, okay, I see it. You're fine. It is safe. And it's important to say it is safe. And it's important to notice that it is completely safe to feel what you feel.
Yeah.
And it's completely safe for that energy to be here. It's like completely safe. Like even intense emotions are safe to feel. So that kind of reassurance is that it is safe. And then, as you said before, like establishing a dialogue. My question is, what are you? What do you want? Do you have a message? What will make you feel more comfortable? Do you want to rest? These are like direct questions to this energy, like if you will be talking to a person. Like, how can I help you? You're here. What can I do for you so you are satisfied? Treating every guest as a gift, because behind that nasty appearance or that really cramped up feeling, there is a gift of spaciousness. Because once that energy goes, it leaves space. And that space can hold joy. It's when we are all cramped up, that's all we see. We don't see. Actually, like if I would put it, there is joy inside, there's love for life inside already, except that we cannot feel it because of all these protections. Because, we don't know what will happen in the future. Better be safe. I better protect. Something is there that needs that protection. And we feel like squeezed inside and like hiding and not wanting to come out because the world out there is like really scary and dangerous. So just by removing all these protections one by one, you kind of open the path for that to shine through, to come out, for that sweetness that hides within to be free, to express, to be radiant. So I think this is what these sessions are about, being comfortable in this openness, being comfortable in being in your own skin. Mm-hmm. So we don't need all these protections anymore. We can open up.
Yeah, I can totally relate. If anything, it's a path of intimacy with life and with the 10,000 things, right? Especially with ourselves, and because it's definitely a journey of uncovering the heart, uncovering because there's all these energies, vulnerable energies, that kind of just the imprints and somatic imprints of childhood intensities that close the doors. Okay, now we need to protect this. Now it's like I can't open up because I get hurt. So it's definitely in sessions we are working through layers. There's one of the kind of new elaboration of tools that works with repressed anger, repressed fear, and repressed sadness. So apart from resistance, right, there's a layer of protection of resistance, then underneath there's a layer of perhaps even something repressed anger, repressed fear. In my case, it was repressed fear of my mom. And then underneath you get to that vulnerable energy, which just needs some voice. Like I have 3 kids, so it's exactly what kids need. They just need some voice. They need to be acknowledged. They need someone just presence to be present there. So it just needs a voice. It just needs to be held and just needs to be welcomed. Said, okay, it's safe. I see you. I hear you. You're absolutely welcome to stay here as long as you like. Yeah.
You mentioned the kids.
And usually that opens up an emotion, like tears, and and that's a good release usually. Yeah. So and then as I'm saying, like a year later, since I embarked on the Kiloby increase, I'm finding myself in such a different place. There's so many things that opened up, and my God, like I was. There's just, even though awakening happened a long time ago, like, in time frames of human perception. But was so many years of not being able to show up, not being able to relate to the world from an openness, to be able to relate to what's happening here from openness. And this was such a big game changer. Not just the relationship here, but the relationship with money, relationship with everything, with just circumstances, with my children. Sometimes, there's times where I would just completely hide and disconnect, and that would be my coping mechanisms of my mom being, like being a single parent, being always angry, being frustrated, and having a difficulty. And I didn't want to translate that energy into my kids. So my way of coping from that was just to stay away. And like, really, when we move from place to place, I would just kind of withdraw, and I'm like, hey, can you play with us? I'm like, no, I'm busy. But clearing that up, like, okay, what is here? What is this? So I went into it, and it was this energy, I'm trapped, so just working with that energy and just clearing that up away from that intimacy with my children. And it's just such a beautiful transformation to really see it on so many levels.
Yes, that resonates completely. And I would say that there are very common topics and very common traumas. And firstly, it's your relationship with mom and relationship with dad. And it doesn't matter if they are here or they are passed away. The relationship is still alive. Then there is the relationship with your inner child, like the little one. And it's just amazing how many children I met in this work that are completely unheard, hurting, depressed, in the darkness, like hidden, not loved. So it's just making that contact with that inner child is the one first step. But then there is this beautiful thing that I invite that kid. I just asked the little one, does he want to play? And I was like, okay, yeah. And what do you want to play? Right? Okay, that. I just want to climb a tree. Okay, fine. Let's go and climb the tree. So you just take the adult and the little one into this beautiful summer field where it's sunshine and breeze, and it's just like feels completely private and spacious and sacred. And then you just allow them to play. So they play there for a while. And then I say, okay, do you want to invite the little one to live in your heart? And the little one, yeah, so he's not alone anymore. And through that little one comes all the creativity and the joy of life and the curiosity, kind of having that relationship clear. It's really big deal. But also like mom and dad. And I also work like with the earth and the sky and, whatever comes up. But these three relationships are of the most important. Because you can do many things. You can try to fix your life if your relationship with your parents is in a horrible shape. Like everything is like putting water in an empty, correct pot. Do you notice that too?
Oh, for sure. It's a big part when we do like a historical trigger inventory, and it's all about daddy and mommy, and like definitely there's another one, there's like a bullying and some school environment issue, but a lot of it, like for me, was camp. But at the same time, it's just a lot of the mom and the dad and healing that and really liberating that. And definitely relationship, either the parents here or not here, doesn't matter. It's really still lives within, our psyche, our subconscious, and our body memory carries memory too. So and when that heals, like for me, this whole moving thing, constantly moving, it was interesting. Every time I had to move to another place, there was always this intense energy that was dissociating. Basically, I could not pack, I could not do anything. And anyway, eventually looking at that, and I found there was this fear of my mom. That's what I'm saying. And back in USSR, and being alone, and needing to do 2 immigrations and moving and really dealing with kids in a violent way, in a way. So it was just like this blockage that was coming up for me, and I was kind of completely like lost in this emotional state until I didn't heal my repressed fear of my mom. And then that completely opened up, and now we can move like 10 times in the same year, and I won't have that kind of blockage on my chest. And anyway, it's just I find the same thing working with other people. Of course, there's a lot of mom and dad, and I'm coming with very motherly energy to my sessions, so I really honored to hold space for all I call the child energy, the vulnerable self, or the vulnerable energies. And there's no particular kind of like almost emphasis on that, apart from really holding space and asking what it wants, what it needs. And it's not necessarily, just want to point out, it's not necessarily reinforcing, the inner child, because there's also that idea that the mind can grasp onto and kind of make it into a new identity. Oh, I'm living with the inner child. But it's actually using the right approach and the right way of honoring, holding space, listening to it, really, really allowing it to really exist, so that it can return to live in the heart, exactly how you're saying, just to kind of like rest, finally rest.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
When we go like this and say, okay, life, I'm here, do whatever you need to do with me, or use me.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Then something opens up, like new things open up.
Yeah, but again, to arrive at that, we need to clear stuff out of the system to be able to have that trust and that safety, I would say, that inner knowing that it is absolutely safe to be open and allow life to take over. It's very playful, actually. Lots of magical.
Yes, yes, yes. That's where the wonder starts. Like allowing life to just take you to places, brings people to you and situations, and just trusting that all is taken care of. I say, thinking that I am the general manager of the universe is a big job. It's a lot of responsibility.
So much
but if
energy,
I say, okay,
so
I'm not the general manager. I didn't create anything. I didn't make these colors happen or these sounds show up. I didn't make this person or the body. No, it's all given. It's all coming. Everything is like a gift. So I can just say, okay, thank you. Thank you. I don't need to manage anything. Thank God.
Yeah, which kind of reminds me, if anything, to kind of conclude, I would like to leave people with this one tool. If anything, take this one tool and we call it the thank you phrase. So if anything arises within you, just close your eyes, just really connect with your body if you can. Just take a few deep breaths so you can be not in your head, but in your body for a moment. And just really get in touch with the sensation, even if it's overwhelming and it's completely taking you over. Just say, thank you for arising. I love you. You can stay as long as you like. And just really mean it. And see what happens. Yeah.
Great.
So, big difference. Sometimes just this. In my clients, like sometimes just this. They're like, oh my gosh, I remembered the thank you phrase. And it just opened up right away my perception of what was happening. I was so inside the emotion, and all of a sudden there was a little bit more space. So it's a good start.
Yeah, it's a good start. And as the progress or process continues, suddenly you notice like there's so much more gratefulness. There's so much more naturally feeling grateful. Trees or grass, food or anything. It's just starts naturally flowing. And that's like a beautiful confirmation that something changed, some kind of shift happened. There's that, thank you. Thank you. And to the honoring and deep respect to all life, to whatever is here.
Yeah, sometimes we think life is just out there, but all this inside is somehow different, separate.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the biggest mystery. How is that possible?
Yeah. The first realization, oh my gosh, there's no difference between this and that.
Life is not there, or God is not there. It's like everything. Everything.
Everything or nothing, right? I love it. So let's say, where can we book a session with you, the deep looking session, or get more information? I guess.
Okay, well, I have a website, which is ilonaciunaite.com. I put that in the comments or in the description. And you can just read what they offer and contact me via email. And how about you?
Yeah, so I can be found in two places, either kiloby.com and you go find facilitator, and I'm right there. And we can put that in description as well. And my website is alinapanteleev.com, just my full name. And you can find me there too.
And you said you are doing meditation on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I do offer. They're actually free or by donation. Every Tuesday, you can go on my website. Every Tuesday, I'm guiding. It's called in Kiloby Priest, we call it the natural rest. So before the session starts, I would guide 5 minutes natural rest. It's just to recognize who and what we are for a moment, and then start looking from there at words, pictures, sensations. But this particular, it's more kind of like a longer guided meditation, so to say, but it's just pointing to what we are. I'm kind of just sharing my direct experience, and it just kind of includes and allows others to experience themselves as that.
I also do free events every month, deep looking, for like a group in English, and then another one in Russian. You should try in Russian
Oh,
as well.
yeah,
It's great. There are a lot of people interesting.
But I could probably get used to it.
Well, for me, it was very challenging because I didn't speak Russian for many years. Now, kind of, yeah, okay, life wants me to speak Russian, so I have to.
Yeah, eventually it's like life presents, okay, well, this is the next thing that you need to do. This is the next thing. Yeah.
So I'm grateful to life that it kind of brought us together today, and we can share.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Whoever is listening, and thank you everyone for watching all this video, and hopefully you got something out from it for yourself. And if you need help, you can find Alina, you can find me, or you can try, give sessions for somebody else, because that works equally well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ilona.
Thank you. And we may see you again.